The marble floors of the Castellano estate gleamed under Elena Rivera's careful attention. She moved the microfiber cloth in smooth circular motions across the already spotless surface, her knees protected by the worn foam pads she'd bought with her first paycheck 3 months ago. The late morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating every streak, every imperfection that most people would never notice. But Mrs. Castellano noticed everything. Elena had learned that lesson on her second day, when the older woman had run a white-gloved finger along a doorframe and found dust Elena had missed. The disapproving click of her tongue had been worse than any shouting. Since then, Elena cleaned like her life depended on it, because in many ways, it did. This job paid $3 more per hour than her previous position at the hotel downtown. It came with health insurance after 90 days, something she desperately needed for her younger brother's asthma treatments. The Castellano family might be wealthy beyond her comprehension, but they paid their staff fairly and on time. In Elena's world, that made them saints. She sat back on her heels surveying the entrance hall. 14-foot ceilings, a crystal chandelier that cost more than she'd earn in 5 years, artwork that belonged in museums. The estate sprawled across 6 acres in the most exclusive part of Chicago's North Shore, surrounded by walls and security gates that made it feel like a fortress. Which, Elena had come to understand, was exactly the point. She didn't ask questions about why Mr. Castellano needed armed security at every entrance. Didn't wonder why men in expensive suits arrived at odd hours for meetings that lasted until dawn. Didn't comment on the hushed phone conversations she occasionally overheard in Italian, the language her grandmother had taught her, but that she pretended not to understand. Elena had learned long ago that survival meant keeping your head down and your mouth shut. "Miss Rivera." The voice made her jump. Maria, the head housekeeper, stood in the doorway with her usual stern expression. "When you finish the entrance hall, Mr. Dante needs his study cleaned. He's out for meetings until 3, so you have 4 hours. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you." Elena's stomach flipped. Dante Castellano's private study was off-limits to most of the staff. The fact that she'd been cleared to clean it felt like both a privilege and a test. "Yes, ma'am. Should I use the regular cleaning products, or the wood polish for his desk? Nothing scented. He has specific preferences." Maria's expression softened slightly. "You've been doing good work, Elena. Don't give me a reason to regret recommending you for this house." "I won't, I promise." After Maria left, Elena gathered her supplies with extra care. The study was on the second floor, down a hallway lined with more artwork and family photographs. She'd only glimpsed Dante Castellano a handful of times since starting, a tall man in his mid-30s with dark hair, darker eyes, and the kind of presence that made rooms fall silent when he entered. He scared her, if she was being honest, not because he'd ever been unkind, he'd barely acknowledged her existence, but because everything about him radiated power and danger in equal measure. But there was something else, too. Something in the way his eyes had lingered on her face the one time they'd passed in the hallway. A fleeting moment where she'd felt truly seen, rather than simply overlooked, like part of the furniture. The study door was heavy oak, ornately carved. Elena knocked twice out of habit, even though she knew the room was empty, then pushed it open. The space smelled like leather and expensive cologne with an undertone of wood smoke from the fireplace. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined 2 walls, filled with volumes in English, Italian, and what looked like Latin. A massive desk dominated the center of the room, its surface meticulously organized. 2 laptop computers, both closed. A crystal decanter of amber liquid. A wooden box that Elena carefully didn't touch, instinctively knowing it contained something she shouldn't see. She started with the bookshelves, dusting each spine with reverent care. Some of these books were clearly antiques, leather-bound and fragile. Others were modern business texts, legal volumes, books about history and strategy. The collection told the story of a complicated man, someone who valued knowledge as much as power. Elena was polishing the desk when voices drifted up from the entrance hall below. The front door must have opened. She heard Maria's professional greeting, then a delivery driver's cheerful response. "Flower delivery for Elena Rivera. Someone's got a secret admirer." Elena's hands stilled on the desk. Flowers? For her? That couldn't be right. She set down the polish and moved quietly to the study door, curiosity overriding caution. From the second-floor landing, she could see down into the entrance hall she'd cleaned that morning. Maria stood near the door, accepting a massive bouquet of red roses from a delivery driver. At least 24 blooms arranged in an elaborate crystal vase, the kind of arrangement that cost more than Elena made in a week. "I think there's been a mistake," Maria was saying. "We don't have—" "Card says Elena Rivera, this address." The driver checked his tablet. Sender paid extra for same-day delivery and specifically requested these roses, said she'd know what they meant. Maria's expression had gone carefully neutral, the look she wore when something was wrong but professionalism demanded composure. She accepted the flowers and signed for them, then waited until the driver left before calling out. "Miss Rivera, could you come down here, please?" Elena descended the stairs slowly, her heart beating faster with each step. Up close, the roses were stunning, deep crimson petals that looked almost velvet in the afternoon light. But something about them made her skin prickle with unease. "Do you know who sent these?" Maria asked quietly. "No. I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have anyone who would—" Elena reached for the small card tucked among the blooms. Her hands went cold as she read the message written in familiar handwriting. "Mi amor, 3 years is long enough. I told you that you could never leave me. I know where you are now. I know where you work. We'll be together again soon. Carlos." The card slipped from Elena's fingers. Maria caught it before it hit the floor, her eyes scanning the words. Her expression shifted from professional concern to something much more serious. "Who is Carlos?" Elena's voice came out as barely a whisper. "My ex-boyfriend, from before I moved to Chicago." "And you left him 3 years ago?" "I ran from him 3 years ago." Elena wrapped her arms around herself, the old fear flooding back. He was controlling at first, then possessive, then violent. I had bruises I hid from my family, explanations I made up for why I flinched when doors slammed. When he broke my wrist and told me it was my fault for making him angry, I knew I had to leave. Maria's jaw tightened. "Does he know you work here specifically? At the Castellano estate?" "I don't know how he could. I've been so careful. I don't have social media. I haven't contacted anyone from back home except my immediate family, and they would never tell him where I am." Elena's breath came faster. "But the card says he knows where I work. Maria, if he found me, if he knows about this job, we need to tell Mr. Dante." "No." The word came out too sharp. Elena lowered her voice. "I can't bring my problems to Mr. Castellano. This is personal, not something that affects the family. I'll handle it myself." "Elena, listen to me." Maria set the flower vase on a side table, her hands gentle on Elena's shoulders. "If this man knows you work here, if he's dangerous enough that you had to run from him 3 years ago, then Mr. Dante needs to know. This estate has security protocols for a reason. I'll quit. I'll leave today. Find somewhere else. I won't put the family at risk because of my past." "You think that will stop him?" Maria's voice was firm. "If he found you here, he'll find you anywhere. And out there without the protection of this house, you'll be completely vulnerable." Before Elena could respond, the sound of a car engine roared up the driveway. Through the front windows, she saw a black SUV screech to a stop at the entrance. The driver's side door flew open and Dante Castellano emerged, his expression thunderous. He'd returned early. Very early. Dante strode through the front door, his suit jacket discarded, his white shirt rolled to his elbows. His eyes swept the entrance hall, landing on the roses, then on Elena's face. Something dangerous flashed in his dark gaze. Whose flowers? His voice was deceptively calm, the kind of quiet that preceded storms. Maria stepped forward. They were delivered for Miss Rivera, sir. Just now. Dante's attention fixed on Elena with laser focus. Who sent them? Elena opened her mouth, but no words came out. The fear that had defined 2 years of her life, the terror she'd tried so hard to escape, came flooding back and paralyzed her. Dante crossed the space between them in 3 strides. He was close enough now that Elena could smell his cologne, see the muscle ticking in his jaw, feel the barely restrained fury radiating from him like heat. I asked you a question. His voice dropped lower. Who sent the flowers? Her ex-boyfriend, Maria answered when Elena couldn't. A man named Carlos who she left 3 years ago because he was violent. The card says he knows where she works now. Dante's hand shot out, not toward Elena, but toward the card Maria still held. She handed it to him. He read the message, and Elena watched his expression transform from controlled anger into something absolutely lethal. Carlos who? Each word was ice. Carlos Mendoza. Elena's voice finally worked, though it came out shaky. From San Antonio. I left him 3 years ago and moved here to get away from him. I don't know how he found me. Carlos Mendoza. Dante repeated the name like he was memorizing it, filing it away for later destruction. And he put his hands on you. It wasn't a question, but Elena nodded anyway. Dante's jaw clenched so hard Elena heard his teeth grind together. He pulled out his phone and dialed with sharp, angry movements. Someone answered immediately. Joseph, I need everything on a Carlos Mendoza from San Antonio, Texas. Mid to late 20s. History of domestic violence. I want his current location, employment, known associates, and every digital footprint he's left in the past 72 hours. He paused. Because he just sent threatening flowers to someone under my protection, and I need to know if he's stupid enough to come to Chicago. He ended the call and turned back to Elena, his eyes blazing with barely contained rage. But when he spoke, his voice gentled slightly. How bad was it? When you were with him? Elena's throat tightened. Bad enough that I left everything behind. My apartment, my job, most of my belongings. I took what fit in a duffel bag and bought a bus ticket to the farthest city I could afford. Did you file a police report? I tried, but Carlos's uncle is a detective in San Antonio. The report disappeared, and I got a visit from 2 officers who suggested I was overreacting, that domestic disputes should be handled privately. The old bitterness crept into her voice. So I stopped trying to get help through legal channels and just ran. Dante's hands curled into fists at his sides. Elena had the sudden visceral impression that he wanted to hit something. Or someone. You should have told me about this when you started working here, he said, his voice tight. Why would I? It was 3 years ago. I thought I was safe. I thought I'd covered my tracks well enough that he'd never find me. Tears burned behind Elena's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. I'm sorry. I'll pack my things and leave. I won't bring this trouble to your house. You think I'm firing you? Dante's expression shifted to something almost offended. Elena, you're not leaving. But if Carlos comes here, if he causes problems, then he'll discover exactly what happens to men who threaten people under my protection. The promise in Dante's voice was absolute and terrifying. You work for me. You're part of my household. That makes you my responsibility. I'm just a maid. The words came out smaller than Elena intended. Dante stepped closer, his presence overwhelming in the quiet entrance hall. You're not just anything. And no man who puts his hands on a woman gets to walk away without consequences. Carlos Mendoza is about to learn that the hard way. His phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his expression hardening further. Joseph found him. He's in Chicago. Checked into a hotel in Lincoln Park 2 days ago. Elena's knees nearly buckled. He's here? In the city? Not for long. Dante's tone promised violence. He turned to Maria. Move Elena to one of the guest rooms on the 3rd floor, the one with reinforced windows and the security panel. I want her inside the main house, not the staff quarters. Sir, that's not necessary, Elena started. It's absolutely necessary. Dante cut her off, his eyes meeting hers with intensity that stole her breath. Carlos Mendoza sent you flowers to let you know he found you, to make you afraid. That means he's planning something. And I don't take chances with the safety of people in my home. Why do you care this much? The question slipped out before Elena could stop it. I'm nobody. Just hired help. This isn't your problem. Dante was quiet for a long moment, something unreadable flickering across his face. When he finally spoke, his voice carried an edge of something that sounded almost like possession. You became my problem the moment you walked through those gates. Everything in my house, everyone under my roof, is mine to protect. His gaze held hers. And I take care of what's mine. The way he said mine sent heat through Elena's chest, despite the fear still coursing through her veins. This was about more than employer obligation. Something in his voice, in the barely restrained fury on her behalf, suggested deeper investment than she'd earned in 3 months of cleaning his floors. I need to call my family, Elena said quietly. If Carlos found me, he might try to use them to get to me. My brother, my mother. Joseph will have someone watching your family within the hour. Dante was already typing on his phone. Address? Elena rattled off the Pilsen apartment number, her mind spinning. This was happening too fast. 3 hours ago, she'd been polishing floors and worrying about whether she'd cleaned the baseboards thoroughly enough. Now she was being moved into a guest room in the main house, while a dangerous man she'd once loved and feared was somewhere in Chicago, hunting her. Mr. Castellano, she started, then stopped, unsure how to articulate the gratitude and terror warring inside her. Dante. He looked up from his phone. If we're going to do this, if I'm going to keep you safe, you call me Dante. Not Mr. Castellano, not sir, just Dante. The informality felt dangerous, like crossing a line she shouldn't approach, but Elena nodded. Dante, thank you. For taking this seriously, for not making me handle it alone. Something softened in his expression, just for a moment. You've been handling it alone for 3 years. That ends today. His phone rang. He answered it, his voice dropping back into that cold, businesslike tone. Talk to me, Joseph. Elena couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but she watched Dante's face harden with each passing second. You're certain? And the surveillance footage confirms it? No, don't approach him yet. I want to know exactly what his plan is before we make a move. He paused. Yes. Move her family to the safe house on Ashland. I don't care if they protest. Tell them it's temporary, just until we assess the threat level. He ended the call and turned back to Elena. His next words made her blood run cold. Carlos Mendoza has been watching the estate for the past 2 days. Joseph just pulled security footage from our perimeter cameras. He's been sitting in a rental car down the street, photographing everyone who comes and goes. Dante's voice was pure ice. He knows your schedule. He knows when you arrive and when you leave. He's been planning this. Elena swayed on her feet. Maria steadied her with a firm hand on her elbow. He's going to try to take me, Elena whispered. When I leave work today, he's going to be waiting. You're not leaving work today. Dante's tone left no room for argument. You're not leaving this estate until Carlos Mendoza is no longer a threat. And Elena? He waited until she met his eyes. That's going to happen very soon, I promise you. The absolute conviction in his voice should have frightened her. This was a man promising to eliminate a threat with whatever means necessary, legal or otherwise. But instead of fear, Elena felt something close to relief. For 3 years she'd been running, hiding, looking over her shoulder and jumping at shadows. Maybe it was time to let someone else do the protecting. What happens now? She asked. Dante's smile was sharp and dangerous. Now, we let Carlos think he's in control. Let him believe his flowers accomplished what he wanted, scaring you, asserting his claim. And while he's congratulating himself on finding you, I'm going to find out exactly what kind of man sends threats to a woman, living under my protection. He gestured toward the staircase. Maria will get you settled. Don't leave the main house. Don't answer calls from numbers you don't recognize. And Elena? His expression turned serious. If you see Carlos anywhere near this property, you tell me immediately. You don't try to handle it yourself. Understood? Understood. As Maria led her toward the stairs, Elena glanced back once. Dante stood in the entrance hall, his phone pressed to his ear again, his whole body radiating barely contained violence. He was making calls, giving orders, setting things in motion that Elena probably didn't want to understand. The roses sat on the side table where Maria had left them, their crimson petals perfect and beautiful and poisonous all at once. A reminder that Carlos had found her. But also, Elena realized with a strange flutter in her chest, a catalyst that had revealed something she hadn't expected. Dante Castellano's absolute, unwavering determination to keep her safe, even if it meant going to war. The guest room on the 3rd floor was larger than Elena's entire apartment in Pilsen. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the estate's gardens, though Maria immediately showed her how to activate the security shutters with a button beside the bed. The furniture was elegant without being ostentatious. A king-sized bed with navy linens, a sitting area with cream-colored chairs, an ensuite bathroom with marble countertops that gleamed under soft lighting. The security panel is here. Maria pointed to a discreet touchscreen mounted near the door. It's already programmed with your fingerprint from your employee file. If anything happens, if you feel unsafe for any reason, press the red button. It alerts Mr. Dante's phone directly and brings security to this floor within seconds. Elena stared at the panel, her mind still reeling. This is too much. I should be in the staff quarters, not taking up a guest room. Mr. Dante's orders. Maria's tone was gentle but firm. And between you and me, mija, I've worked for this family for 15 years. I've never seen him react to anything the way he reacted to those flowers. The fury in his eyes when he read that card. She shook her head. That wasn't just about security protocols. That was personal. But why? He barely knows me. I've worked here 3 months and he's spoken to me maybe twice before today. Maria's expression turned knowing. Just because he hasn't spoken to you doesn't mean he hasn't noticed you. Mr. Dante is a man who observes everything. He knows more about the people in his household than they realize. Before Elena could process that unsettling information, her phone buzzed. Her mother's number flashed on the screen. She answered immediately, switching to Spanish. Mama, are you okay? Elena, what's happening? Her mother's voice was tight with worry. 2 men just arrived at the apartment. They said they work for your employer and that we need to pack bags and go with them to a safe house. They know about Miguel's medication. They have a car waiting. What is this about? It's about Carlos, Mama. Elena sank onto the edge of the bed, exhaustion and fear crashing over her. He found me. He's here in Chicago, and he's been watching where I work. My employer is being cautious, making sure Carlos can't use you or Miguel to get to me. Her mother was silent for a long moment. Carlos Mendoza? The boy who broke your wrist? He's not a boy, Mama. He's a dangerous man, And he sent me flowers today with a message saying he knows where I am. Elena's voice cracked. Please, just go with Mr. Castellano's men. They'll keep you safe until this is resolved. Your employer is doing all this? For a maid? Disbelief colored her mother's words. Apparently. Elena glanced at Maria, who was organizing clothes in the closet with deliberate focus, pretending not to listen. Mama, I have to go. Please call me when you're at the safe house, and keep Miguel's inhaler with you. After ending the call, Elena sat in silence, trying to process the past 3 hours. She'd woken up that morning worried about cleaning schedules and grocery budgets. Now she was sitting in a luxury guest room while armed men moved her family to a safe house, and a mafia boss planned something she probably didn't want to understand. I brought you some clothes. Maria set several items on the bed. Your size. Comfortable things. Mr. Dante said you're not to worry about work duties until this situation is resolved. You're to rest, eat when you're hungry, and stay in the main house. I can't just do nothing while everyone else scrambles to fix my problems. You can, and you will. Maria's voice turned stern. You've been running for 3 years, Elena, constantly looking over your shoulder, never feeling truly safe. Let someone else carry the weight for a little while. After Maria left, Elena stood at the window, looking out over the grounds. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the manicured lawns. Somewhere beyond those walls, Carlos was waiting, planning, convinced that he had the right to reclaim what he'd never actually owned. A knock on the door made her jump. Come in. Dante entered, his earlier fury banked to controlled intensity. He'd changed into dark jeans and a black sweater that made him look younger, less like the dangerous businessman and more like someone who could blend into any Chicago neighborhood. Your family is secure, he said, without preamble. Joseph's team picked them up 20 minutes ago. They're being moved to a property I own in Oak Park. 3 bedrooms, fully stocked kitchen, medical supplies for your brother. They'll be comfortable. Thank you. The words felt inadequate for what he was doing. I know this is beyond what any employer should have to handle. Stop thanking me. Dante moved to the window, standing close enough that Elena could feel the heat radiating from him. And stop thinking of this as employer-employee. What's happening right now goes beyond that. Then what is it? He turned to look at her, his dark eyes intense. It's me making sure that a man who thinks he can terrorize women learns what happens when he targets the wrong person. I'm not important enough for this kind of response. You work in my house. You're under my protection. That makes you important enough. Dante's jaw tightened. And Elena, I need you to understand something. The world I operate in, the business I conduct, it has rules. One of those rules is that you protect your own. Anyone who works for me, lives under my roof, falls into that category. Carlos Mendoza violated that when he sent those flowers. So this is about principle? About defending your territory? Something flickered across Dante's face. It's about principle, yes. But it's also about the fact that I've watched you work for 3 months. Watched you arrive early every morning, stay late to make sure everything is perfect. Watched you be kind to Maria when she's having a difficult day. Watched you help the gardener carry heavy equipment even though it's not your job. His voice dropped lower. I know more about you than you realize, Elena. And what I know tells me that you don't deserve to live in fear of a man who couldn't control his fists. The confession settled between them, heavy with implications Elena wasn't ready to examine. You've been watching me? I notice everyone in my household. It's how I stay alive in my world. But the way he said it suggested this was more than simple observation for security purposes. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his expression hardening. Joseph found Carlos's hotel. He's staying at a boutique place in Lincoln Park, registered under his real name. Apparently, he's not worried about being found. Because he thinks he's untouchable. Bitterness crept into Elena's voice. His uncle is a detective. His family has connections. He's never faced real consequences for anything he's done. That changes tonight. Dante's tone promised violence. I'm meeting him. Neutral location, public enough that he won't try anything stupid, private enough for a frank conversation. Fear spiked through Elena. You're going to confront him directly? Dante, he's dangerous. So am I. The simple statement carried absolute conviction. Elena, I need you to trust me. I've been handling dangerous men my entire adult life. Carlos Mendoza is a bully who beats women. He's not prepared for someone who actually fights back. What are you going to do to him? Dante was quiet for a moment. I'm going to give him a choice. He can leave Chicago tonight, never contact you again, and live with the knowledge that he got off easy. Or he can refuse, and face consequences that will make him wish he'd taken the first option. And if he refuses, then I handle it my way. Dante's eyes held hers. But Elena, I need you to understand that whatever happens, it's not your fault. You didn't bring this on yourself by running 3 years ago. You survived. And now I'm making sure you don't have to keep running. Elena's throat tightened. Why are you doing this? Really? Not the principal answer, not the territory explanation. Why do you care this much about what happens to me? Dante stepped closer, his hand coming up to brush a strand of hair from her face. The touch was gentle, careful, completely at odds with the dangerous man everyone else saw. Because when I read that card, when I saw the fear in your eyes, something in me snapped. His voice was rough. I've spent my whole life controlling my reactions, calculating every move. But the thought of him putting his hands on you, hurting you, making you afraid, his jaw clenched. I wanted to destroy him. Still do. And that reaction, that fury, it's not just about principle. Then what is it about? I don't know yet. The honesty in his admission was startling. But I'm going to keep you safe while I figure it out. Before Elena could respond, his phone rang again. He answered, his voice immediately shifting to business mode. Talk to me. He listened, his expression growing darker. When? Show me the footage. He held up his phone so Elena could see the screen. Security camera footage showed a man sitting in a car across from the estate gates. Even from the distance and angle of the camera, Elena recognized him immediately. Carlos looked exactly as she remembered, handsome in a cruel way, with dark hair and the kind of smile that had once made her feel special before it became a warning sign. He's been there for 3 hours, Dante said, his voice tight. Just watching. Waiting. Elena's hands trembled. He's planning when to approach me. Probably waiting until I leave work, thinking he can corner me on the street. He's not going to get the chance. Dante ended the call and turned to Elena. I'm moving up the meeting. Tonight. 1 hour from now. Where? A restaurant I own in River North. Public. Well lit, but with private booths where we can talk without being overheard. His expression was cold calculation. Joseph will bring Carlos in under the pretense of a business meeting. He won't know I'm connected to you until he's already sitting across from me. I want to be there. Absolutely not. He's my past. My problem. I deserve to… Elena. Dante's voice was firm. Having you there would give him power. He'd see your fear, use it against both of us. This is better handled man to man, without the emotional leverage your presence would provide. He was right, and Elena hated it. Then what am I supposed to do? Just sit here and wait? Yes. Stay in this room, stay safe, and trust me to handle this. Dante moved toward the door, then paused. There's something else you should know. Joseph ran a deeper background check on Carlos. The domestic violence wasn't limited to you. He has a pattern. 3 previous girlfriends filed restraining orders in San Antonio. One ended up in the hospital with a fractured skull. Elena's stomach turned. Did they prosecute? Charges were dropped every time. Carlos's family has enough money and connections to make problems disappear. Dante's expression turned savage. But they don't have connections in Chicago. Here, he's just another abuser who made the mistake of threatening someone I protect. After Dante left, Elena paced the guest room, her mind racing. She thought about Carlos, about the early days when he'd been charming and attentive, before the charm turned to control and the attention became surveillance. She thought about the night she'd left, slipping out while he was at work, leaving behind her phone and most of her possessions because she knew he'd track anything she took. 3 years of freedom. 3 years of slowly learning to breathe without fear. And now he was here, trying to drag her back into hell. An hour passed with agonizing slowness. Elena tried to eat the dinner Maria brought up, but her stomach was too knotted with anxiety. She stood at the window, watching darkness fall over the estate grounds, imagining Dante sitting across from Carlos in some restaurant booth. What would Carlos say? Would he be smug, confident in his right to reclaim her? Would he threaten Dante, not realizing who he was dealing with? Her phone rang. Joseph's number. Miss Rivera, Mr. Castellano asked me to update you. The meeting is underway. Carlos arrived 15 minutes ago. How is he acting? Confident, arrogant. He thinks he's meeting with a business associate who wants to discuss a proposition. Joseph's voice carried dark amusement. He has no idea what he's actually walked into. Is Mr. Castellano safe? Mr. Castellano has 4 of our people positioned throughout the restaurant. Carlos is alone and unarmed. Whatever happens in that booth, the boss is in complete control. After Joseph hung up, Elena resumed pacing. She imagined the conversation, Dante revealing his connection to her, Carlos's reaction. Would he be angry? Defensive? Would he try to justify what he'd done? 30 minutes later, her phone rang again. Dante's voice came through, controlled but edged with something dark. It's done. What happened? Carlos Mendoza is leaving Chicago tonight. He has a ticket on the last flight to San Antonio, which departs in 3 hours. He'll board that plane, return to Texas, and never contact you again. Relief flooded through Elena, so intense it made her knees weak. He agreed? Just like that? After I explained the alternative, yes. Dante's voice was cold. I showed him photographs of his previous victims, the women he'd hurt. I explained that I'd already sent those photos, along with medical records and police reports his family thought they'd buried, to several news organizations in San Antonio. They're sitting on the story, waiting for my signal to publish. You'd destroy his reputation? In a heartbeat. But I also explained the other alternative. Something dangerous entered Dante's tone. I told him that if he didn't leave Chicago immediately, if he ever contacted you again, I would make sure he understood exactly what it feels like to be powerless and afraid. That every bone he'd ever broken in women, I'd break in him. That he'd spend the rest of his life looking over his shoulder the way he'd made you look over yours. Elena's breath caught. What did he say? He asked who I was to threaten him. I told him I was the man who owned this city, who had more power and connections than his entire family combined. And then I showed him proof. Dante paused. He understood very quickly that he had no leverage, no protection, no way to win. So he chose the smart option. He's leaving. Just like that? 3 years of hunting me and he just leaves? Bullies fold when faced with real consequences, Elena. Carlos Mendoza built his confidence on hurting women who couldn't fight back. When confronted by someone who could, would, and wanted to hurt him, he crumbled. Satisfaction colored Dante's words. He's at O'Hare Airport now. Joseph is personally escorting him to his gate to make sure he boards. Elena sank onto the bed, emotions warring inside her. Relief, disbelief, gratitude, and something else. a sense of justice she hadn't expected to ever feel. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know how to thank you enough for this." "You don't need to thank me. Just promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll stop running. Stop looking over your shoulder. Stop expecting him to appear around every corner. Carlos Mendoza is gone, and he's not coming back." Dante's voice softened. "You're safe now, Elena. Really safe." Tears she'd been holding back finally spilled over. "I don't know how to be safe. I've spent 3 years in survival mode." "Then learn. Starting tonight." She heard movement on his end of the call, the sound of a car door closing. "I'm on my way back to the estate. We need to talk about what happens next." "What do you mean?" "Your living situation, your job, your family. Things have changed today, Elena. We need to figure out what that means going forward." After the call ended, Elena moved to the bathroom and splashed cold water on her face. Her reflection stared back. Same brown eyes, same dark hair pulled into a practical ponytail, same face she'd seen every morning for 25 years. But something in her expression had shifted. The constant tension around her eyes had eased. The set of her jaw had relaxed. For the first time in 3 years, she looked like someone who wasn't running. 40 minutes later, a soft knock announced Dante's arrival. Elena opened the door to find him looking tired but satisfied, his earlier fury replaced by calm control. "He's gone," Dante confirmed, stepping into the room. Joseph watched him bored. "The flight took off 10 minutes ago." Elena's legs went weak with relief. Dante's hand shot out to steady her, his touch warm and grounding against her elbow. "Easy. When did you last eat?" "Maria brought dinner, but I couldn't." "Come on." He guided her to the sitting area, settling her into one of the cream chairs before taking the one across from her. "We need to discuss the practical matters." "Like what?" "Like the fact that your family is in a safe house, you're in my guest room, and your job situation is complicated now." Dante leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "Elena, I can't have you go back to being just the maid who cleans my study. Not after today. Not after what I learned about you." Fear spiked through her. "Are you firing me?" "The opposite. I'm offering you a different position." His dark eyes held hers. "My household operations need better management. Inventory, scheduling, vendor relations, staff coordination. Maria handles the day-to-day cleaning, but the administrative side has been neglected. I want you to take it over." Elena stared at him. "I'm not qualified for that. I have 2 years of community college and experience cleaning hotel rooms." "You're smart, organized, and you notice details. That's more important than credentials." Dante's expression was serious. "And frankly, I want you in a position where you're working closely with me, where I can make sure you're safe, where you're not on your knees scrubbing floors when you're capable of so much more." "Why does it matter to you what I'm capable of?" Dante was quiet for a long moment. "Because watching you clean my study this afternoon, seeing you work with such care and attention, I realized I'd been wasting your potential. You speak Spanish and Italian. You understand people. You have skills that are valuable beyond manual labor. This is about guilt, isn't it? You feel bad about what Carlos did, so you're trying to fix my life. This is about recognizing ability when I see it." His voice turned firm. "But yes, after today, after learning what you've survived, I'm invested in making sure your life is better than just scraping by." Is that so wrong? Elena didn't know how to answer that. Part of her wanted to accept immediately, to grab this opportunity with both hands. But another part, the part that had learned to be wary of men offering things that seemed too good to be true, held back. What would the job actually entail? Managing household budgets, coordinating with vendors, overseeing maintenance schedules, handling staff issues. You'd work from an office on the second floor, report directly to me. Dante watched her carefully. Salary would be $60,000 a year, plus the health insurance you're already earning. Elena's heart stopped. $60,000 was more than double what she made now, more than she'd ever imagined earning. With that kind of money, she could get her mother to quit one of her jobs, could afford better medical care for Miguel, could finally stop living paycheck to paycheck. That's too much. It's market rate for household management in estates like this. I checked. Dante's expression turned wry. Elena, I'm not trying to buy your gratitude or create obligation. I'm offering you a job you're qualified for at appropriate compensation. The decision is entirely yours. And if I say no, if I want to keep cleaning, then you keep cleaning. Your job is secure either way. Carlos is gone. The threat is eliminated. You can stay here in the guest room until you feel safe returning to your apartment, or you can leave tonight. Whatever you choose, you're protected. He stood. Think about the offer. Give me an answer when you're ready. He moved toward the door, then paused. Elena? One more thing. Yes? You asked earlier why I care this much, why I reacted the way I did to those flowers. Dante turned to face her fully. I've been thinking about that. And the truth is, somewhere in the past 3 months, watching you work, seeing how you carry yourself, how you treat people, you became more than just staff. You became someone I noticed, someone I looked forward to seeing in the hallways. Elena's breath caught. I'm not saying this to pressure you or make things uncomfortable, Dante continued. But you deserve honesty. The fury I felt reading that card, the absolute determination to eliminate the threat, that wasn't just about principle or territory. That was personal. And I think you should know that before you make any decisions about your future here. He left before Elena could respond, closing the door quietly behind him. She sat in the empty room, her mind reeling. The job offer was generous, life-changing. But Dante's confession complicated everything. He'd developed feelings for her, or at least the beginning of them. And if she was being honest with herself, she'd noticed him too. The way her pulse quickened when he entered a room. The secret pleasure she'd felt when he'd called her by her first name. The warmth that had spread through her chest when he'd promised to protect her. This wasn't just about a job anymore. This was about the beginning of something that could either save her or destroy her. Elena stood and moved to the window, looking out over the estate grounds. Somewhere out there, beyond the walls and security gates, was the life she'd been living. Small, safe, limited. But here, inside these walls, was the possibility of something more. The question was whether she was brave enough to reach for it. Elena woke to sunlight streaming through the guest room windows and the disorienting realization that she'd slept through the entire night without waking once. No nightmares about Carlos finding her. No jolting awake at 3 a.m, heart racing, convinced she'd heard footsteps outside her door. Just deep, dreamless sleep. She checked her phone. 7:30. On a normal morning, she'd already be halfway through cleaning the first-floor hallway. But this wasn't a normal morning. Everything had changed in the span of 24 hours. Soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Miss Rivera, it's Maria. May I come in? Elena opened the door to find the head housekeeper carrying a tray with coffee, fresh fruit, and what looked like homemade pastries. Mr. Dante's orders, Maria said, setting the tray on the sitting area table. He said you're to eat a proper breakfast and take your time getting ready. He'd like to see you in his office at 10 if you're feeling up to it. I'm fine. Really. Elena poured herself coffee, the rich aroma helping ground her in the present moment. Maria, can I ask you something? Of course. Has Mr. Castellano ever done something like this before? Protected someone on staff like he protected me yesterday? Maria settled into the chair across from her, her expression thoughtful. Mr. Dante takes care of his people, always. But what happened yesterday? She shook her head. I've worked for this family for 15 years, Mija. I've seen him handle threats, eliminate problems, protect his interests, but I've never seen him react with that kind of personal fury. The way he looked when he read that card, when he realized someone had threatened you. Maria met Elena's eyes. That wasn't a boss protecting an employee, that was something more. He said as much last night, that he'd noticed me, that what he felt was personal. And how do you feel about that? Elena wrapped her hands around the coffee cup, seeking its warmth. Terrified, grateful, confused. I came here 3 months ago just looking for a job with decent pay. I didn't expect to catch the attention of someone like Dante Castellano. Someone like him? Maria repeated gently. You mean dangerous, powerful, connected to a world most people only see in movies. Yes, all of that. Elena's voice dropped. Maria, I spent 2 years with a man who used his power to control and hurt me. How do I trust someone whose power is exponentially greater? How do I know this isn't just a different kind of trap? Maria reached across the table and squeezed Elena's hand. I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you what I've observed. Mr. Dante is a hard man in a hard world. He makes difficult decisions and lives with consequences that would break most people. But in all my years here, I've never seen him raise a hand to a woman. Never seen him use his power to intimidate or control the people who work for him. He protects, yes, sometimes with methods that make me uncomfortable, but he's never been cruel for cruelty's sake. That doesn't mean he couldn't be. No, it doesn't. Which is why you need to decide for yourself whether you trust him. Whether you believe the man who sent Carlos Mendoza away is someone worth taking a chance on. Maria stood. But Elena, don't let your past with one terrible man prevent you from seeing what might be possible with a different one. Not all power is used to hurt. After Maria left, Elena stood under the shower for a long time, letting the hot water wash away the residual fear that had lived in her bones for 3 years. Carlos was gone. Really, truly gone. She didn't have to be afraid anymore. The question was, what did she want to do with that freedom? If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. At 9:45, Elena made her way down to the second floor. She dressed in the nicest clothes Maria had provided, charcoal slacks and a cream blouse that made her look professional, rather than like someone who scrubbed floors for a living. Dante's office door was open. He sat behind his desk, reviewing something on his laptop, still dressed in the dark jeans and black sweater from last night. He looked tired, like maybe he hadn't slept much. But when he glanced up and saw her in the doorway, something in his expression lightened. Elena, come in. He closed the laptop. How did you sleep? Better than I have in 3 years. She took the seat across from him, the same chair she'd occupied yesterday when her world was falling apart. Joseph texted me this morning. He confirmed Carlos's flight landed in San Antonio at 2 in the morning. And I received confirmation from my contact there that Carlos went directly to his apartment, packed his belongings, and left the city. He's gone to Houston, staying with a cousin. Dante's expression was satisfied. He's not coming back, Elena. I made sure he understood the consequences if he did. I still can't quite believe it's over. It's over. Dante's voice was firm, final. Carlos Mendoza is no longer a threat to you or your family. Elena took a deep breath. About your job offer, the household management position. Have you made a decision? I want to accept. But I need to understand something first. She met his eyes directly. Is this offer genuine or is it a way to keep me close? Because you said last night that you'd developed feelings, that your reaction was personal. And I need to know if the job is real or if it's just a way to... To what? Control you? Keep you dependent? Dante's jaw tightened. Elena, I offered you that position because you're qualified for it and because I've been meaning to hire someone to manage household operations for the past year. The timing might seem convenient, but the need is real. You can verify that with Maria if you don't believe me. It's not that I don't believe you. It's that I need to make sure I'm accepting for the right reasons. Not out of gratitude, not because I feel obligated, but because it's genuinely a good opportunity. Then let me make this easier for you. Dante stood and moved to a filing cabinet, pulling out a folder. Here are the job responsibilities, the salary structure, the benefits package. Everything in writing. Take it, review it, even have a lawyer look at it if you want. This is a legitimate employment offer that has nothing to do with my personal feelings. He set the folder on the desk between them. As for those feelings, I'm not going to pretend they don't exist, but I'm also not going to use them to pressure you. You can take this job and maintain a strictly professional relationship with me. You can decline the job and keep your current position, or you can take the job and, when you're ready, when you trust me enough, we can explore what else might be possible between us. The choice is entirely yours. Elena picked up the folder, flipping through the detailed job description and contract. Everything was exactly as he'd described: professional, fair, legitimate. I have a condition, she said. Name it. I want to earn this position. I don't want special treatment. Don't want people thinking I got it because of what happened yesterday or because you're interested in me personally. Elena's voice was firm. So, I want a probationary period. 3 months where you evaluate my performance objectively. If I'm not meeting expectations, you let me go without guilt or obligation. I need to know I can actually do this job. Something like respect flickered across Dante's face. 3 months probation. Full salary, full benefits, but with the understanding that continued employment depends on performance. Agreed. Then I accept. Dante extended his hand across the desk. Elena shook it, feeling the warmth and strength of his grip. This was a business transaction. Professional. Clean. So why did her pulse quicken at his touch? You start Monday, Dante said. That gives you 3 days to rest, get your family settled back home, adjust to the fact that you're safe now. Maria will show you your office tomorrow and walk you through the current systems. What about today? Today, you do whatever you need to do to feel like yourself again. Visit your family, go for a walk, sit in the garden, whatever helps. His expression softened. You've been surviving for 3 years, Elena. You're allowed to just breathe for a day. Elena stood to leave, then paused. Dante, thank you. For everything. For believing me, for protecting my family, for handling Carlos. I know I keep saying it, but I don't know how else to express what it means. You don't have to keep thanking me. He moved around the desk, stopping close enough that she could smell his cologne, that subtle scent that she'd noticed while cleaning his study. I did what needed to be done. What I wanted to do. The only thanks I need is knowing you're safe. They stood like that for a moment, the air between them charged with awareness. Elena could feel the pull, the attraction that had been building beneath the surface for months, now acknowledged and impossible to ignore. But she also felt the weight of her past, the caution that 3 years with Carlos had taught her. Moving too fast, trusting too quickly, had led to disaster before. I should go, she said quietly. I want to see my mother and Miguel. Make sure they're really okay. Joseph will drive you. And Elena? Dante waited until she looked at him. Take your time, with everything. I'm not going anywhere. The safe house in Oak Park was a comfortable 2-story home in a quiet neighborhood, exactly as Dante had described. Elena's mother answered the door, pulling her into a fierce hug the moment she crossed the threshold. Mija, are you all right? Those men, they said you were in danger. That we all were? I'm fine, Mama. Everything's fine now. Elena held her mother tight, breathing in the familiar scent of her perfume. "The threat is gone. You can go home." Her brother Miguel appeared from the living room, his inhaler in hand as always. At 14, he was still small for his age, his asthma having stunted his growth. But his eyes were sharp and knowing as he studied Elena. "This is about Carlos, isn't it? He found you?" Elena should have known she couldn't hide it from Miguel. Despite his age, he'd always been perceptive. "Yes, but he's gone now. Back to Texas. He won't be coming back." "How can you be sure?" Her mother's voice was tight with worry. "Because my employer made it very clear what would happen if Carlos didn't leave and stay gone." Elena guided her mother to the couch, settling beside her. "Mama, I need to tell you something. The family I work for, they're powerful. More powerful than Carlos's family. When they make promises, people listen." Her mother's eyes widened with understanding. "You're working for the Castellanos. I heard the name when those men came to get us. Elena, do you know what that means? What kind of people they are?" "I know they're connected to things that aren't entirely legal. I know they operate in a world that's dangerous." Elena took her mother's hand. "But I also know that when I needed help, when Carlos found me and sent those threatening flowers, Dante Castellano protected me without hesitation. He moved you to this safe house, sent Carlos away, and made sure we were all safe. Whatever else he is, whatever else he does, he kept his word to protect us." "Dante," her mother repeated, catching the familiar way Elena said his name. "You call him by his first name?" "He asked me to." Her mother studied Elena's face with the same perceptiveness Miguel had inherited. "There's more to this story than just an employer protecting an employee." Elena couldn't deny it, so she didn't try. "He's offered me a promotion, household management instead of cleaning, better pay, better position. And yes, he's made it clear that he's interested in me as more than just an employee. But Mama, I haven't made any decisions about that. I'm taking things slowly, making sure I'm choosing what I want rather than just falling into another situation I can't control." "Good." Her mother squeezed her hand. "You're smart to be cautious. But Elena, don't let what Carlos did make you afraid of every man. Some men do use their power to hurt. But some use it to protect. The difference is worth noticing." They spent the afternoon together, Elena helping Miguel with homework while her mother made lunch in the safe house kitchen. It felt almost normal, except for the occasional presence of one of Joseph's security team checking the perimeter. By evening, Joseph had arranged for their return to the Pilsen apartment. The security team did a full sweep before allowing them inside, checking for any sign that Carlos had been there. Everything was clean. "We'll have someone watching the building for the next week," Joseph told Elena as they stood in the apartment hallway. "Just as a precaution. Mr. Castellano wants to make sure there are no surprises." "Thank you, Joseph, for everything." The older man's expression softened slightly. "Mr. Castellano gave very specific orders about your safety, Miss Rivera. Keeping you and your family protected is now part of my job. You need anything you call." After they left, Elena stood in her tiny bedroom, looking at the space she'd called home for 3 years. It felt different now, smaller somehow. The apartment that had represented freedom and safety when she first arrived now felt like a reminder of survival mode, of the life she'd been living in the margins. She thought about the guest room at the estate, about the job offer waiting for her on Monday, about Dante's promise that she could take her time deciding what she wanted. For the first time in 3 years, Elena had choices. Real choices, not just survival options. The question was, what did she actually want? Monday morning arrived with a mixture of nervousness and anticipation. Elena dressed carefully in one of the professional outfits Maria had helped her purchase over the weekend, a navy sheath dress with a gray blazer, low heels that were comfortable but polished. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked competent, professional, like someone who belonged in an office rather than on her knees with a scrub brush. The estate felt different as she walked through the front door at 8 in the morning. She was no longer arriving as the cleaning staff, slipping in through the service entrance. She was walking through the main doors as management, her head held high. Maria met her in the entrance hall with a warm smile. "Ready for your first day?" "As ready as I'll ever be." The office Maria showed her was on the second floor, 3 doors down from Dante's. It was smaller than his, but still impressive. A desk with a new computer, filing cabinets, a window overlooking the garden, and a small sitting area for meetings. "Mr. Dante had IT set up everything you'll need," Maria explained. "Computer access to all household accounts, vendor contacts, staff schedules. He also left you this." She handed Elena a leather-bound notebook. Inside, Dante had written in precise handwriting, "Elena, welcome to your first day. The household operations have been neglected for too long. I'm trusting you to bring organization to the chaos. If you need anything, my office is down the hall. Don't hesitate to ask questions. You've got this." D. The simple vote of confidence made Elena's chest warm. She spent the morning immersed in learning the systems, reviewing budgets, familiarizing herself with vendor contracts and maintenance schedules. Maria was patient, answering Elena's endless questions without making her feel stupid for asking. Around 11, Dante appeared in her doorway. "How's it going?" "Overwhelming, but manageable." Elena gestured to the spreadsheets covering her desk. "I'm realizing how much you've been neglecting the household finances. Some of these vendor contracts are paying double market rate, which is exactly why I needed someone competent managing it." Dante leaned against the doorframe, looking pleased. "Think you can renegotiate?" "I can try, though I've never negotiated vendor contracts before." "You negotiated with me for a probationary period when I offered you this job. You can handle vendors." His expression turned serious. "Elena, I meant what I said in the note. Don't hesitate to ask for help or clarification. This is a learning curve, but you're smart enough to master it." Over the following weeks, Elena proved him right. She threw herself into the work with the same dedication she'd brought to cleaning, but now her intelligence and attention to detail had room to shine. She renegotiated contracts with 3 vendors, saving the household $15,000 annually. She reorganized the maintenance schedules to be more efficient, coordinated with Maria to streamline cleaning operations, and created systems for tracking household expenses that made budget management actually transparent. Dante noticed. His approval came in small moments: a nod when she presented updated budget reports, a rare smile when she showed him the savings from renegotiated contracts, quiet praise when she handled a difficult vendor dispute with grace. But he also kept his distance, maintaining the professional boundary Elena had silently requested. Their interactions were cordial, focused on work. He didn't push, didn't pressure, didn't make her feel uncomfortable, which only made Elena more aware of him. She noticed how he rolled up his sleeves when working at his desk, the way his brow furrowed when he was concentrating, the rare moments of laughter when Joseph made a dry comment. She noticed how he treated his staff with respect, how he was fair even when being firm, how he commanded loyalty through competence rather than fear. She noticed, and against her better judgment, she started to want. 6 weeks into her new position, Elena was working late on inventory reports when Dante knocked on her open office door. "Still here?" He glanced at his watch. "It's almost 8. I wanted to finish reconciling the quarterly expenses before tomorrow's budget meeting." Elena rubbed her tired eyes. "I'm almost done." "It can wait until morning." Dante entered the office, his expression concerned. "You've been staying late every night this week. The probation period is over, Elena. You've more than proven yourself. You don't have to work yourself to exhaustion. I'm not trying to prove anything. I just want to do the job well. You're doing it exceptionally well, which is why I'm ordering you to go home, eat dinner, and get some rest. His tone was gentle but firm. That's not a suggestion. Elena started to argue, then realized he was right. She was exhausted, had been pushing herself too hard to demonstrate that she deserved this position. Okay, she conceded. I'll finish this section and then leave. Thank you. Dante didn't leave, instead settling into one of the chairs across from her desk. Can I ask you something personal? Elena's guard immediately went up. I guess. Are you happy? Not just with the job, but in general. Are you finding what you were looking for when you ran from San Antonio? The question caught her off guard with its sincerity. Elena set down her pen, considering her answer carefully. I'm happier than I've been in years, she said finally. I have work that challenges me, family that's safe and healthy, a life that doesn't require constant vigilance. But, Dante prompted when she trailed off. But I'm also lonely. The admission surprised her as much as it probably surprised him. I've spent 3 years keeping everyone at arm's length, not making friends, not dating, not letting anyone get close. It was necessary for survival, but now that I'm safe, I realize I've forgotten how to connect with people. Dante was quiet for a moment. You connect with Maria. I've seen you two talking, laughing together. Maria is different. She's safe, maternal. She doesn't want anything from me except competent work. Elena met his eyes. But romantic connection, letting someone in that way, I don't know if I remember how, or if I'm even capable of it anymore. You're capable. Dante's voice was certain. Carlos didn't break that part of you, Elena. He just made you cautious, which is smart, not damaged. Is it? Because sometimes I think I'm using caution as an excuse. You've been patient for 6 weeks, keeping your distance, letting me adjust. And I appreciate that. But I also wonder if I'm just being a coward, too afraid to take a risk on something that might be good because the last time I did, it turned out so badly. Dante leaned forward, his expression intense. Let me be very clear about something. I'm not waiting for you out of some strategic patience, hoping you'll eventually give in because I wore you down. I'm giving you space because you deserve it, because trust has to be earned, not assumed. If you're never ready, if you decide you want strictly professional relationship, I'll respect that. And if I am ready, if I want to see what might be possible between us, then we take it slow. We spend time together outside of work, get to know each other as people, rather than employer and employee. We build something real, not rushed. His dark eyes held hers. Elena, I don't want you because of gratitude or obligation. I want you to choose me because you actually want me, because you see who I am. All of it, good and bad, and decide I'm worth the risk. Elena's heart hammered in her chest. What if I'm not ready to decide right now? What if I need more time? Then take it. I'm not going anywhere. They sat in the quiet office, the weight of possibility hanging between them. Elena realized this was the moment. She could retreat back into safety, maintain the professional boundary, protect herself from potential heartbreak. Or she could be brave, could take the leap and see if this dangerous, powerful, complicated man might actually be everything he seemed. Have dinner with me, she heard herself say. Not here at the estate, not as employer and employee. Take me somewhere. Show me who you are outside of this world. Let me see if the Dante I'm attracted to is the same one who exists when we're not surrounded by all this. Surprise flickered across his face, followed by something that looked like pure satisfaction. Friday night. I'll pick you up at 7. Where are we going? Somewhere that matters to me. Somewhere that will show you who I was before I became the person everyone fears. Dante stood, his expression softer than Elena had ever seen it. And Elena, thank you for taking a chance. After he left, Elena sat at her desk, her heart racing with equal parts excitement and terror. She'd just agreed to a date with Dante Castellano, one of the most dangerous men in Chicago. Either this was the beginning of something real and beautiful, or she was about to make the biggest mistake of her life. Only time would tell which. Friday arrived with unseasonably warm weather for late autumn in Chicago. Elena spent the entire day distracted, her mind half on work and half on the evening ahead. Maria noticed, offering a knowing smile when Elena asked for advice on what to wear. Something that makes you feel confident, mija. Not what you think he wants to see, but what makes you feel like yourself. Elena chose a simple burgundy dress that hugged her curves without being obvious, paired with a leather jacket and ankle boots. When she checked her reflection at 6:30, she saw a woman who looked ready. For what? She wasn't entirely sure, but ready nonetheless. Dante arrived at her Pilsen apartment at exactly 7, driving himself in a sleek black car that probably cost more than her family made in 5 years, but he wasn't wearing the expensive suits she'd grown accustomed to seeing. Instead, he wore dark jeans, a gray Henley, and a leather jacket that made him look younger, more approachable. "You look beautiful," he said simply when she opened the door. "You look different. Good different. That's the point of tonight, showing you different sides." He gestured to the car. "Ready?" They drove through. The city as dusk settled over Chicago, the skyline lighting up against the darkening sky. Elena expected him to take her to some exclusive restaurant in River North or the Gold Coast. Instead, he pulled up to a small Italian place in Little Italy, the kind of neighborhood spot with checkered tablecloths and family photos on the walls. "My grandmother used to bring me here when I was a kid," Dante explained as he held the door open for her. "Before the business, before everything got complicated. This place reminds me of who I was supposed to be." The owner greeted Dante with a warm hug, speaking rapid Italian that Elena understood perfectly thanks to her grandmother's lessons. They were seated at a corner table, and within minutes, food started arriving without them ordering. Homemade pasta, fresh bread, wine that tasted like sunshine. "Tell me about your grandmother," Elena said as they ate. Dante's expression softened in a way she'd never seen before. "Nonna Rosa. She came from Sicily when she was 16, married my grandfather, raised 5 kids while he built the family business. She was tough, practical, but also kind. She used to say that power without compassion makes monsters, but compassion without power makes victims." Sounds like a wise woman. She was. She died when I was 23, right before I had to take over the family operations. Sometimes I wonder what she'd think of the man I became. His voice carried old grief. Whether she'd be proud or disappointed. "I think she'd be proud that you protected me," Elena said quietly, "that you used your power to help someone who needed it." Dante reached across the table, his hand covering hers. "I want you to understand something. The world I operate in, the business I conduct, it's not going away. I can't pretend to be someone normal, someone safe. There will always be danger on the periphery of my life. I know that. But I can promise you this, that danger will never touch you if I can prevent it. You'll never be collateral damage, never be a target, never be used against me. I protect what's mine, Elena, fiercely, completely." There was that word again. Mine. It should have frightened her, should have triggered memories of Carlos's possessiveness, but coming from Dante it felt different. Not like ownership, but like claiming, like a promise. "I'm not yours yet," she said, testing. "Not yet," he agreed, "but I'm hoping that changes." They talked for hours. the conversation flowing easily from childhood memories to dreams for the future. Dante told her about his sister in Boston, the legitimate businesses he was slowly building to eventually leave the criminal operations behind. Elena told him about her grandmother's stories of Sicily, about the degree in linguistics she'd always wanted to complete, about Miguel's dreams of becoming a doctor despite his asthma. By the time they left the restaurant, Elena felt like she'd seen past the dangerous exterior to the man. Underneath, someone shaped by circumstances but not defined by them. Someone trying to build something better even while trapped in a world that demanded violence. "Walk with me?" Dante asked, gesturing toward a small park across the street. They strolled through the quiet space, the city sounds muted by the trees. Dante's hand found hers, their fingers intertwining naturally. "I have a confession," Elena said. "I noticed you months before you noticed me, or at least, before you let me know you noticed. I noticed you the first week." Dante's voice carried quiet amusement. "You were cleaning the library, singing quietly in Spanish while you worked. You didn't know I was there, watching from the doorway. You looked so content, so at peace with what you were doing. It made me curious about who you were. That's slightly creepy, you know? Watching without me knowing. Probably. But I'm not going to apologize for it." He stopped walking, turning to face her. "Elena, I need to know. Is this real for you? Are you here because you want to be, or because you feel like you should be? Because gratitude and obligation aren't foundations I want to build on." Elena took a breath, gathering her courage. "When you read that card from Carlos, when I saw the fury in your eyes, I felt something I haven't felt in 3 years. Safe. Not because you're powerful, but because you were angry for me. Because someone finally saw what Carlos did as unforgivable, rather than something I should just accept." She stepped closer. "And over these past 6 weeks, working near you, seeing how you treat people, how you keep your word, how you're trying to build something legitimate, I've felt that safety deepen into something more. Attraction? Yes. But also trust. And hope that maybe I can have something real with someone who sees all of me and doesn't want to change it." "I don't want to change anything about you," Dante said, his hand coming up to cup her face. "You're perfect exactly as you are. I'm not perfect. I'm damaged and cautious and probably going to need a lot of patience. Then I'll be patient." He leaned in slowly, giving her every opportunity to pull away. "Can I kiss you, Elena?" Instead of answering, she closed the distance between them, her lips meeting his in a kiss that felt like coming home and taking a leap all at once. His arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her close, and Elena let herself sink into the moment. The fear that had defined her for so long melted away, replaced by the solid certainty of Dante's embrace. When they finally broke apart, both breathing harder, Dante rested his forehead against hers. "Stay with me tonight," he whispered. "Not at the estate, at my apartment in the city. Just us. No business, no obligations. Let me show you what we could have." Elena knew this was a turning point. If she said yes, there was no going back to the safe distance she'd maintained. But looking into Dante's eyes, feeling the warmth of his touch, she realized she didn't want distance anymore. "Yes," she said simply. 3 months later, Elena stood in the office that had become her domain, reviewing budgets with the same meticulous attention she'd once given to cleaning floors. The estate ran like clockwork now. Every system optimized, every vendor relationship carefully managed. But more than that, she ran it with confidence. The cautious woman who'd arrived seeking refuge had transformed into someone who knew her worth, who negotiated fearlessly, who'd earned the respect of everyone in the household. The door opened and Dante entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. It had become their morning ritual. He'd stop by her office before his own meetings. They'd spend 15 minutes together reviewing the day ahead. "Your mother called," he said, handing her a cup. Miguel's doctor says he's responding well to the new treatment. The treatment Dante had arranged through his connections, ensuring Miguel got access to a specialist who normally had a 2-year waiting list. Elena had stopped protesting his help after the first month, realizing that accepting support wasn't the same as being controlled. Thank you for arranging that. Family takes care of family. Dante settled into the chair across from her desk, the same one he'd sat in that first terrifying day when the flowers arrived. Family. The word had taken on new meaning. Elena spent most nights at Dante's apartment now, though she maintained her own place for appearances and independence. They'd fallen into rhythms that felt sustainable: work during the day, dinners together most evenings, weekends split between his world and hers. It wasn't always easy. There were still moments when his phone rang at 3 in the morning with problems Elena didn't want to understand. Still times when Joseph appeared with urgent matters that required Dante's immediate attention. The danger hadn't disappeared, but Dante had been true to his word. It never touched her directly. I have something for you, Dante said, pulling a small box from his jacket. Elena's heart jumped. Dante, it's not a ring. Not yet. He smiled. Open it. Inside was a key. Simple, brass, attached to a keychain engraved with coordinates. What is this? The coordinates of the property I bought in Lake Forest. 3 acres, security already installed, space for your mother and Miguel if they want it. Dante's expression was serious. I'm not asking you to move in. Not yet. But I'm asking you to have a place in my life that's permanent, that's yours whether we're together or not. A home that's always safe, always waiting. Elena's throat tightened with emotion. This is too much. It's not enough. It's never enough to thank you for taking a chance on me, for seeing past the reputation to who I actually am. He took her hand. Elena, I love you. I've loved you since you stood in my office 6 months ago, terrified but brave, telling me the truth about Carlos even though you thought I might fire you. I love your intelligence, your strength, your refusal to let circumstances define you. I love you too, Elena whispered, tears streaming down her face. I didn't think I could. After Carlos, after everything, I thought that part of me was broken. But you showed me it wasn't. You showed me that love doesn't have to hurt, that power can protect instead of destroy. Dante stood, pulling her into his arms. I promise you, for the rest of my life, I'll protect you. Not because you're weak, but because you're precious. Not because you need me, but because I need you. Elena looked up at the man who'd gone to war for her over a bouquet of flowers, who'd eliminated a threat without hesitation, who'd given her space to heal and time to trust. The dangerous mafia boss everyone feared was, for her, simply Dante. The man who brought her coffee, who listened when she talked about work frustrations, who held her when nightmares occasionally resurfaced. I'm keeping the key, she said, and sometime soon I'm going to use it. But Dante? Yes? I don't need the house to feel safe. I just need you. He kissed her then, soft and sure, a promise of everything they'd built and everything still to come. Outside the office windows, Chicago stretched out in all its complicated glory, a city of light and shadow, danger and beauty, exactly like the man who'd claimed her heart. And Elena Rivera, the woman who'd arrived at these gates seeking refuge, had found something infinitely better. A home not in walls or security systems, but in the fierce, protective love of someone who saw her worth and would defend it with everything he had. The flowers that had started it all were long gone, wilted and discarded. But what they'd set in motion, the fury, the protection, the love that grew from ashes, that was just beginning. And it was more beautiful than any bouquet could ever be. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.